Michael, I'll start with you. Both these picks for Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio, yet to be publicly confirmed, and Congressman Walz, they're both ardently pro-Israel. Both want to end the war in Ukraine. Both see China as the greatest threat facing the United States of America right now. America's foreign policy is about to look very different.
It is about to look very different. I think in the Middle East, you're going to see Netanyahu with a longer leash. I think you're going to see an Iran that ought to be more worried about enforced sanctions, particularly in their oil sector. And I think that's all part of Trump's aim to reestablish deterrence in the region, to make sure he knows that the United States is watching Iran and having Israel's back. At the same time, I think Trump is sincere when he says to Netanyahu, hurry up, I want you to end the hostilities as soon as possible. I believe that is foundational to Trump, and that is sort of, he abhors war. He talks about endless wars a lot. He says he wants to end the war in the Middle East and Ukraine. So I think he's balancing those two things, but it'll definitely be different in the Middle East.
Ambassador Marco Rubio has talked very tough on Iran, saying the only way to deal with Iran is to degrade it or eliminate it. What do you think that means going forward?
Well, I think that this is establishing a position of toughness. What everyone has looked for and has not seen for several years is peace through strength rather than accommodation. And I think, just as Mike said, you're going to see a tougher approach on Iran, holding Iran accountable for the actions of its proxies, the Houthis, Hamas, Hezbollah, and willingness to threaten strikes on Iran in order to get Iran to stand down. This will have the effect of convincing or showing to Israel that we have their back. We are reestablishing regional deterrence. That will give Israel more confidence so that they don't feel they have to carry out these wars on their own and reestablish deterrence on their own. And it'll also lay a foundation for working together with Saudi Arabia again so that we can get Saudi Arabia and Israel on the same page, recognizing that they share a common adversary in Iran.
Yeah, but Ambassador, Saudi Arabia was willing to go and make this deal normalizing relations with Israel, provided there was a two-state solution. When you hear the soon-to-be ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, saying absolutely no two-state solution, these people can't be, you must eradicate them, that would seem to close the door on that possibility.
Yeah. I think after October 7th, all of the old structures of thinking about the Middle East, Gaza, two-state solution, no one-state solution, all of those things have to be rethought. I don't think we can go back to where we were. Now, I don't agree that you can just say it's all Israel, but I think there's going to have to be some other kind of international oversight, some kind of focus on economic development of the region. It's going to have to be a different approach.
Michael, Rubio and Walz have both really accused the Biden administration of hamstringing Israel, urging them, don't, take the win, don't retaliate, don't respond to these provocations. If you say they're going to give Israel a longer leash, what does that look like exactly? Because Netanyahu's been itching to take out Iran's nukes for a long time.
Well, I think first and foremost, it means rhetorically you won't see the United States criticizing Israel, at least in public. The most effective way, I think, to deal with the Israelis is in private, to try and induce them to cooperate. And I think the public shaming and criticism of Israel all the time may have induced Hamas to be less likely to get a hostage deal, to do a ceasefire, if they were concluding that Israel's best friend wasn't even with them. But you're right, we have a big fish to fry, and it's going to happen in the next 4 years, and it's what to do about Iran's nuclear program. They have more or less perfected weapons, the process that gets weapons-grade uranium, and we're wondering, what will Israel do? What will the United States do? Would we jointly bomb that nuclear program if it looks like Iran is trying to sneak through and test a nuclear weapon?
But wouldn't the United States actually firing on Iran like that, along with Israel taking out Iran, I mean, doesn't that touch off and ignite a wider war in the Middle East?
I think it arguably would. The question they'll have to answer, though, is what is the worst thing? Is it worse to have a long-term situation where Iran's regime is in office for decades because they have the security of a nuclear weapon? Or will we put up with some short to medium term sort of uncomfort to get this done.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.